What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the First Look Show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Special one this week. I'll get to that in a second, but we are going to be talking all things week 3. Going to bring up the skeleton of our tool, the Stone, the best tool in DFS. Going to go through it game by game, but it's an exciting day. It's Shiptember. We told you from the beginning. You just got to see it off the top. We've had a ton of ships already 2 weeks in, but I'm most excited because I'm back with my guy, my man, Degenerate75, back in the booth. I know we talk all the time, texting back and forth, but there's nothing like being back on a show with you, my brother. What's going on?
Not much. Excited to be back. It sucked to miss week 1, that, life happens. And so far as the future goes, I plan on being here every Tuesday. Let's just hope we can get some run good both at DFS and in life. And I'll be here chopping it up with you every Tuesday.
Love it, man. Happy to have you back here with me. It's always a good time. And NFL is the best sport. I love talking. And I know golf is near and dear to our hearts, but you're covering the golf streets right now. Those that don't know, you are doing a PGA stream the Wednesdays, obviously an off week this week with just DP World Tour, but we'll be back for the President's Cup, some strategy involved. Love that event. Next week, I'll be there live, so excited for that. And then obviously you're doing some college football stuff behind the scenes. Guy Bill on the front now. So we've got everything covered for you and more over at SHIPIT Nation. But off the top, got to give a big, huge congrats. Our guy, Hebrew Cheetah, Rio the man, the Cheetah Goat in there last night. And I won't rat him out for, complaining a little bit after that. Maybe I just did a little bit, but all he had to do was wait out for the stat correction from Kirk Cousins. They credited him with a 2-point conversion that he did not have or did not convert. So shout out to Ree 100K. Oh, that's for sure. Nice to see the good guys, him, Marley, the grinders getting it done. You see that stuff last night, DJ, and they got the job done. And many members joined in the fun too.
Yeah, that was awesome because I went to bed thinking I had saw Hebrew was up there, but when I went to bed, I was thinking that he did not get it, and then I woke up to see that he did because of a stat correction. And in his defense, part of the reason we pay our DFS, when you pay for a contest, you pay for the right to tilt. So you tilt all you want, Hebrew. Okay.
That's right. That's why we got Tilt Nation, baby. We got the channel right in the chat, and it does suck. Showdown's a game with heavy ups and downs, but you're waiting for those spots. And I love Rio's comment was, we love those stat corrections. Only when they go in our favor. Of course we do. That's when they're the best. So we're going to talk about everything today. I think, DJ, we're just going to go through and break it all down. We'll bring up the Stone. Do want to comment on a couple things first. First off, because people love the giveaways, we did start this last week. We have the first winner. I'll give it here in a second. But the contest is simple. You can't do it while you're watching it live. We record this live. Other people have done first looks in the past where they record it. I get it. But you have to do it after the show. All you do is you comment, like, and subscribe. The comment is just the quarterback you think will be the highest scoring quarterback for the week. And then it's going to be the winner based on that. We had 3 people get it correct last week. The random draw this morning. The winner was at Chris Ostro 7634. So at Chris Ostro 7634, you can reach out to info@shipitnation.com. The winner gets a free month of football, including Shiptimizer. So get your comments in afterwards. And yeah, it's all good. We all go through these ups and downs like DJen said, but it's just fun, right? That's the game that we play. We're all excited for each other. We're up there, one play up, down the next. It's the way it goes. The best sweat in football, I love it, is the showdown slates for me. Anything else you want to add on that stuff, DJ? And if not, I'm going to talk about the Listener League.
Let's get to the Listener League.
All right. Let me share the screen here. I'll let you break down the lineup. Maybe that's the best play here. Let me pull this up here first. For those of you that don't know, we've got this Listener League, which is the best contest in all of DFS right now. It is 2,000 entries, $5 5 max, $12.50 for first, and $100 for 14th to 16th. I mean, the top 10 is an incredible payout, but you're still getting good cash. Even if you finish in the top 16, you're making $100. It is completely rake free. So go to the X account, mine at ToeTagginTambo. Get in there now. I'm going to check it out before we get here, and we'll check it at the end. 850 entries in there exact right now of 2,000. So that's the number. We've got some spots left, 1,150 to fill. DGen, I'll bring up the winning lineup from last week. Congrats to CJ Klatt, 96, 210 points. Absolutely crushed it. That would have won Millie Makers on, I think, the main ones and a lot of the satellites and all that stuff. I think you needed 229.92 to win the $20. But what a lineup from CJ Klatt. I'll let you break it all down there. Maybe I'll make it a little bigger for everybody to see if that works. There you go.
Yeah, the first thing is he absolutely boat raced. You can see the next closest guy was 25 points behind. So Anytime you win a GPP by 25 points, you usually hit a pretty nutted lineup. To me, the best thing he did was going with Alvin Kamara there. Alvin Kamara is starting to remind me of like Derrick Henry of like 3 years ago. Like when nobody plays him, you play him because he always has like a 50-point game in his range of outcomes, right? And if you get that, well, what did he get? 47 points from Kamara. You're getting that at 3%. You're literally sharing that with almost nobody, and that alone can break a slate for you. Love that. Baker Mayfield, a dude, he's just playing so well. I don't typically like him for fantasy, but Jesus, the guy's turned into a new guy. If I am going to play him, I'm going to skinny stack him. So I love the skinny stack with Godwin. And then getting over, he got Malik Neighbors in there. He ate the Neighbors and the Mason chalk, but honestly, I thought those were both good chalk just based on the usage they were going to get. And then that's crazy that he was able to get CeeDee Lamb in his flex with only, who didn't even have that good of a game. Basically had the one play, but between that and Metcalf, that was enough to get there. And he punted at tight end just like I did this last week because tight ends this year apparently are dead. So you might as well just pay the $2,500 guys.
Yeah, I think that was crazy. That was the best part for me is the secondary stack of Alvin with CD and getting those guys in the way he did while still fitting in some of the better chalk on the slate. Like you said, the Mason, Godwin, Neighbors. Nades and I broke it all down on the takedown breakdown here on the Ship It Nation YouTube station. You can go check that out from Monday. We went more in depth on all this and more. But I do think the DK Metcalf, it's not like Charbonnet was getting heavily owned. I think he was 11 or 12% in the flex. But the main thing was, it was like just if you were landing on Metcalf and you already had those other guys, he just kind of went right balanced in between, very balanced build overall, and then used the same punt that everybody was using at tight end. So really nice lineup. CJ Klatt 96 got it done, got all the rake free money to go with it. Some other members I saw up there that I remember that posted Zim 54, impeccably coming up and more. This week, 2,000 entries can get in. There's about 1,150 left as we speak. Rake free. You see this? No rake needed. Just bust right through those leaves. I found that, Jeff. I thought that one was a pretty good one. So let's move on. We're here for our first look. And for me, I know DJ, and we've done this in the past. It literally is a true first look. I don't look at anything. I'm nonstop with content yesterday, doing other stuff with the company behind the scenes. But for this, do you look ahead, at the pricing before you hop on? Are you just sort of taking it game by game? And is there anything that you can think of that sort of stands out heading into week 3 after week 1 and week 2 are always chalk week 1? Then people say fade the chalk week 2. Do you have a week 3 thing for everybody out there?
So I literally never look until Tuesday. Like I wanted to I want to look at it with fresh eyes, particularly on this show. I don't even look at the games that are on the slate, let alone the pricing, right? So this is a true first look for me. I don't even know what the 10th or 11th game is. I've scrolled through the first 3 real quick on my screen. As far as what really sticks out for week 3, if you guys haven't seen, passing touchdowns in the NFL are like at an all-time low. Like we're like playing like 1982 football again. It is crazy how low the passing touchdowns are. And, 1 week it could be an anomaly, but 2 weeks seems to be starting to form a trend. And I think this week, if we see low passing touchdowns again, I think it's just going to be a year where you're going to see passing touchdowns really down this year. And I've been thinking, do I need to adjust the way that I build my lineups and allocate my money for my lineups if passing touchdowns are going to continue to be at an all-time low?
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. Somebody talked about it too. I guess it was, I think it was Scott Barrett from Fantasy Points posted after the person posted the tweet about all those touchdowns being down, passing touchdowns, posted the cover 2 stats have gone way up. It's up to almost 50% that teams are just running this. And someone said, well, how do we solve that? And I don't know. It's not my expertise, the X's and O's and putting on the pads. I play DFS. That's my focus. But somebody did say that it'll just be another offensive genius that comes in, figures out how to do it. I mean, you're big in the Madden streets, the college football game streets. What's your solution for that? Or do you think it's just that's how it's going to be and we're just going to deal with it for at least a little while?
Oh, it's easy. On the video games, cover 2, you just run post all day. Just split the 2 fucking safeties all day long because that middle linebacker can never get back there and guard a fast-ass slot from the running a post. So that's how you beat it. Now, once again, that's video game world. I don't think it's that easy where you'd be like, guys, just go, hey, Devonta Smith, just go get the slot, run a post. We have figured out how to beat defenses, but that's how I beat it on Madden, that's for sure.
Yeah, Devonta Smith got given some gears from last night, too. Didn't it? We thought maybe A.J. Brown would have pulled that one in if he was in the game. He let it get punched out. And then at the end of the game, the interception, many needed that catch as well. He didn't really seem to care too much. Once it was out of his realm of possibilities, like, if he gets it, he gets it. And sure enough, they did. And the Falcons shut that game down quick. So, all right, let's hop in then. This is awesome. We're going to get to it, guys. We're going to go game by game. Like we said, it's a true first look. So if we miss stuff, you have some thoughts in the chat, throw it out there. You know, we're always interactive. We're always bringing up these comments. That's the fun in doing it live. We could always just record this behind the scenes, get it done, move on with our day. But we want to be here with the people interacting. Do us a favor. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We keep all of our videos for free. We want to keep growing the channel. The more we grow, the more we show. All these shows are free, like we said. So Giants at the Browns is the first game, and we're using the Stone. And we'll talk more in a second, I guess. But for now, let's just get into the first game here, DJ. We got Giants at the Browns. Daniel, speaking of Stone, Daniel Stones last week. He didn't actually need to have him, but he did end up, and our guy Sean was already on it. Back-to-back, he was on the $20 Millie Maker winner. You just single stacked him, no run back, put neighbors in, and move on. What's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so I was Daniel Jones. I had in about 40% of my lineups last week too. He was just one of those big, week one overreaction guys, right? He's the worst quarterback in the NFL. Anytime I heard that, I'm like, okay, playing him in week 2, and he did very solid. But he also had a wonderful matchup against the shitty ass Commanders. This week he's playing the Browns, who Deshaun Watson's an absolute train wreck, but the Browns as a football team are really good. Could you imagine if they still had Baker Mayfield playing like he's playing right now? I mean, I think they'd probably be the favorites, at least the second favorites to win the Super Bowl. This week, that's just a terrible matchup for old Danny. I'm staying away from him. I think, with Malik Neighbors now getting up into the 6,000s, he's starting to really get up to that point where you're having to commit to him, right? Like when he was 5,900, that Best Buy pricing almost felt like, he could be my second or third wide receiver. And 6,400 and this type of a matchup, I don't know if I love it. I'm certainly not considering any of the Giants' periphery pieces. And then with the Browns, it's just hard to play any of them that are connected to Deshaun Watson, because I'm telling you, Deshaun Watson fucking sucks. I mean, he is broken. I mean, he's broken worse than Max Homa for all you golf people. The only one that I would really even consider would be Jerome Ford. Maybe they get up and they run the shit out of the ball. But even there was some really weird running back splits with the Browns last week with, Foreman getting all the love, right?
Yeah, we'll update this too. Obviously, we pulled this stuff in early. People wondering why Nick Chubb, and you see all that. But maybe, good time just to talk about that quickly, because when we merged back in February, you brought over what at the time was the Rosetta Stone. I gave it the old Justin Timberlake social network from Facebook. Dropped the Rosetta, just the Stone. I like that. We got the Degenerate 75, the editor. We've got all our team set up that way. But talk a little bit about just this tool in general, because it's a mainstay over at SHIPIT Nation. We've literally brought it it's in Showdown, the main. We've got it for Showdown for golf, for the main. We brought it into MLB. We brought it into MMA. We've got it for CFB. We've got it for NASCAR. And spoiler alert, it's coming for NBA and NHL. So give us just your 2 cents on this, because you created this thing.
Yeah, so it was simple. It was 2 years ago. I was trying to get people into college football DFS, and it's such an intimidating sport where people don't know they may know the teams, but they certainly don't know the players and all of that. And so I thought, what if I created like a roadmap that basically showed them who the players are for each team they should consider, who they should consider for GPPs, who they should consider for Gash, which games they should look at targeting, high totals, high usage, stuff like that. And I created it literally just to take some of the intimidation out of college football DFS. Then from there, some dude's like, hey, man, I really like your Stone. Why the hell don't you just do that for PGA and NFL? Well, for NFL, it made a lot of sense because it was basically just the same crossover as college football, right? It's the same football stats and everything. Color coding it was easy. And then it did take a lot more work to convert it to PGA. But once we did that, there was no turning back, because then people got addicted to that, especially for Showdown, because a lot of people don't have 2 or 3 hours every night to be a professional DFS player and go break all this shit down and make their own models and their own ownership. They need something to reference. They still want to make informed decisions. They still don't just want to have picks from somebody else. So you make the Stone where they can go look at it, look at the stats, break it down in 30 minutes, come up with their own plays, their own strategy, their own lineup, submit them, and still be able to compete to win GPPs. And that is the genesis of the Stone.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I zoned out a little bit because I forgot how much I love and miss your impersonations. And I don't know exactly what one that one is. What one's that one? The redneck?
That's my Southern. I like college football, but why the hell can I get it for PGA?
I love that. All right, that's a perfect one. Let's get back to it here. This is a comment. So this is probably the only thing I did see first look, because as soon as the news came out yesterday, Hoop and I think it was actually maybe Nades and I, or maybe it was Hoop, myself, and Title. We were recording the Monday Night Football show. And anyway, the news came out about Bryce Young being benched and that Andy Dalton was going to be in. I get that he's a $4,800 quarterback, and we have only got off the ground. We're one game in. I'll see how the slate shakes out. But I think people are misinterpreting that as like a must play just because of that, when there's the pricing on quarterback is still way down. being that we're only in week 3, when you only have to find $500 to play somebody else like a Daniel Jones. And I'm not putting him up to say he's the one. I'm just saying this is not some crazy thing versus there's already quarterbacks well within that price range that you can get close to. So I don't know why people are feeling the need, like automatic lock. You got to play him. The defense will probably end up being more popular against him by the end of the week because there's nothing with that offense where they really need to hold him back. They should just let him try. So I actually like the concept of play him in tournaments with a double stack or play the defense against him. It's not like a backup quarterback where they're just going to hand the ball off every time, or at least you wouldn't assume. Anything else on this first game you want to talk about, DJ? And if not, we can go to the next one.
Yeah, I'll be looking at the defenses. That's about it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't add one piece. Like I saw some good stats on Amari and Judy, but again, you have to get the ball. You have to be able to get it from Watson. And I know Drake London caught a touchdown last night, but it reminds me almost of like the Kirk Cousins to Pitts and London. Like, yes, London had a decent game, but you got to have the guy to get them the ball, and that's what you'd be hoping on here. We'll have everything updated and more in the stone as the week goes on for all of the legend items that you see up at the top. Let's move on. Let's go to Bears and Colts. And Caleb Williams has not looked good in his first 2 starts. So I'll let you maybe start there, but talk to us about this one. It is, lower total, 42.5 right now, close spread in Indy. Any interest in this one or any thoughts on these two teams?
So, I mean, obviously I like the fact that the game's in the dome with the Colts, and I do feel like Caleb Williams is due for a breakout, but at the same time, the Colts play slow as shit. Like, if you watch the Colts games, they play so slow, and it's hard to, like, get them in a good shootout. Like, I just don't think there's any way this game gets, like, a 31-28 kind of shootout type vibe. So, if anything, I'm coming in here maybe taking a running back or something. But these just aren't the kind of game flows I like, right? I like those games that have the potential not only to get a lot of points scored, a 31-28 type game, but to have a lot of plays run. Because every time they run a play, that's more chances for your guy to get more fucking fantasy points. So I want to see teams who are running 60, 65, preferably 70 plays in a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And it makes it tough to go back to this one. Obviously going to be waiting on some news. Like Allen was out last week. Downs, they held back an extra week. I think you liked Adonai Mitchell last week, back to the well on him, right? I even tried him out in a couple spots there. Again, didn't quite get the outcome from him. Maybe if you wanted some sort of secondary stack in this game, I could get to it, or just a one-off piece with a guy like him. If you want to take one more shot in the dome, we used to do this back in the day in Indy, right? It was T.Y. Hilton. We would wait for him to get indoors in the dome and be like, oh, that's the one where he's going to catch 2 bombs and just go off, even though he did nothing else anywhere else. Any extra love on him this week after you were higher on him last week?
Man, I still think he's electric, and every time Josh Downs is out, I'm still going to be considering him. It just bothers me that the Colts run like 52 plays a game, and half of them are giving the ball to Anthony Richardson or Anthony Richardson running or giving the ball to Jonathan Taylor. It gets very frustrating to watch.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And we'll have these games designated by the end of the week, right? If there's no designation, it stays gray. If it's a target game, we're going to put it in purple, sneaky, whatever. I don't think this one's going to find its way to too many just because we'll see, but because of the spread, the total, and just everything. But I guess if there was a spot, like I said, just in the back of my mind, I always have good thoughts on a first look and then go away from them by the time we get to Sunday. But if there was a spot to get a Pittman going, a Mitchell going, see if these guys are in, maybe just this side and don't even mess around with the Bears. That was one takeaway, at least from the first couple weeks, is auto forcing the run back. It's already been something we talked about last season even, and just it's not always needed, and it's especially harder when you're trying to figure it out with a team like the Bears here. Like, are you going Swift, Herbert, Moore? If Allen plays, Rome, Carter, there's just too many guys. And then you have to, even when you get your stack right, then you screwed up the other side. And really, if your stack's already lower owned, or you're Richardson and Pittman or Richardson and Mitchell, nothing's forcing you to grab one of those guys. So that'd be another early thought for me here on a first look. Anything else there? If not, you could take us into Texans, Vikings.
Yeah, so like these next 2 games got me wondering, are the Vikings and the Saints like legit good? Like, what if they're like really good and they have like really legit defenses? We all kind of marked both those teams off to start the year. No one had high expectations, but through 2 weeks, like, you'd be silly not to look at how well both those teams have played, right? And the fact that the Texans have one of the most electric offenses in the NFL and they don't even have projected 24 points this week means that Vegas is starting to even realize that the Vikings have a pretty legit defense. So right there, CJ Stroud, I'm really impressed with him so far this year. He's going to be a legit star. I thought there might be a sophomore slump this year, but it's not. Only problem with him is like, yeah, you stack him with Nico, but like, I don't like Diggs and Tank Dell's role. I know everybody keeps saying Tank Dell's going to get his, but so I knew somebody was going to get out. I avoided this team like the plague when I was drafting best ball, and CJ Stroud's been good. Nico's been good, but other than that, I just don't feel comfortable with Diggs, Dell, or Schultz. And I feel like Stroud's a guy that I need to double stack if I play. And then I have the concern that I think the Vikings might have a very legitimate defense, and this could be a game where the Texans only score like 17 or something like that.
I'm interested to see how this one shakes out over the week, because this, again, it didn't fully get there last week, but I know that you like that Giants-Washington game that became a sneaky game. I just don't know if people will really like CJ Stroud is sort of priced out at 71 for what people have been used to the first couple of weeks. So maybe they don't get there. Maybe there is some worries with the stuff you mentioned, but inside in Minnesota, Darnold, Jefferson, some sneaky stuff here. Naylor was looking just fine. So there's options here in this game, and I just wonder how it shakes out as the week goes on. The prices are still pretty fair on the Minnesota side. Nico is kind of kept in check. If you want to go back to the well on a Tank Dell or something, you could. So not completely off it, but just early in the week trying to see how this is going to shake out. Go Collect was saying on that previous game on the Indy spot, maybe could be like Arizona, right? Inside, fast track, get them rolling. It was the defense with MHJ and Kyler. So you got that set up there. And then Nades was pointed out too, is the game stacking more so paying off in these smaller fields when you can get away with a little bit more mistakes. So I'll have a little bit more interest in this game. And you brought it up. You said the Vikings and the Saints, are they both for real? They're both at home. They've both looked for real. Is it Derek Carr week at 5,800? Do you just pay $100? Do you just pay $1,000 more than Andy Dalton and go up to Derek Carr, the best quarterback in football, MVP candidate?
Dude, he's playing so good. But I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it would take like 6 or 7 weeks of him doing well before I could get over the Taysom Hill scar tissue. Like, I'm so emotionally damaged from all the times Taysom Hill's come in and really killed Derek Carr's upside. Yes, I know he hasn't done it this year, but I just know it's coming. And that just keeps scaring me off of Derek Carr. But damn, that guy's playing really well. At 5,800 with a 26-point implied team total. And I saw what Cousins did to the Eagles in the second half last night. It's kind of interesting. Yeah,
I want to bring this one back up too, just back to the previous game, and then I'll give my thoughts on this one. Hurts is the cover boy coming off a loss now, might be pissed off, but just on this, again, there's not one size fits all on this, but when we saw earlier CJ Klatt win the listener league, and he had Alvin Kamara with Lamb, that's two very expensive guys in a secondary stack, but one of them is a running back, right? Remember that, and then you need other little skinny stacks and stuff to make stuff work. Typically, if one, if not both of these receivers are going off completely, you have to factor in other items. And one of the factors for me would be that Sam Darnold is only 5,500. So if Jefferson ends up having a game, he could have a 9 for 150-1, and you don't need Darnold. But you got to remember that already gives Darnold 150 yards. It gives him a touchdown. It keeps adding. And what if there's more? So I would prefer not to secondary stack two super expensive guys most times. I'm not going to block it completely, but just to note a little strategy tidbit, that would be one reason why. And typically it's like an Ertz Neighbors or a Brian Robertson and Neighbors last week would have been just fine because they're both really cheap, mid-tier price range, and you can make that work. For me on this game, I just wonder if Kamara gets the love after last week to go right back to the well. But you've got opposite side in the same game. They were not stopping with Barkley. He obviously cost them the game. I know Jeffrey brought it up here earlier. I had the same. It was a rough chop. It was more like a, make back your money to start the season type of chop. But it was if Barkley caught that ball, the game pretty much ends and then you move from there. But Barkley in this game will wait. AJ Brown said last night he's not expecting to stay out long, so we'll have to see how that goes. Dotson was kind of completely phased out. Didn't see him at all. And Jalen Hurts at 7,300, still kind of affordable. But I'd want Brown to be out to feel better about it's Barkley, it's Devontae, it's Goddard, and maybe one more. I want a tighter tree there at least. Is there anything else you can think about for this game that you wanted to talk about there?
Yeah, I saw the dude I follow on Twitter, that doctor, said that AJ Brown more likely out than in this week, just based on the severity of his injury.
Yeah, if anyone saw more too, throw it in there. I definitely think that's something to consider. Also, though, how do you think this game could shape up if you were just guessing right now on the Stone to end the week? Because it's got a really close spread in New Orleans, in the Dome, and it's got these big totals. You think this is going to be a target game by the end of the week, or more likely a sneaky game just because it is hard to pick between these guys and get them correct?
Yeah, it certainly won't be a chalky game. And normally when we see the 50-point totals like we have here, a lot of times those will be designated chalky games because everybody's going to be getting a piece of that action. But I think the way people are priced in this game and just these two offenses in particular, I do not think it will be a chalky game. And then with a 50-point total, I think that this could probably end up being a pretty good target game where you're getting a lot of points. And I think that these offenses are decently concentrated enough that this would be a game that I would want to target, especially if it's not going to be getting a ton of ownership.
The chat just said AJ Brown is out. I didn't know if it was official or not, just to see
it wouldn't be official this early, but I think he's trending towards being out.
Yeah, it's a couple more weeks. They're right. So that's all I want to make sure of. I couldn't remember what the tweet said last night. Our guy, Uncle Nick, comes in, everyone going to play, and then Hebrew is just the best. He's Chalk Donkey's going to go back to him. Yeah, because of course you got him when he wasn't Chalk and crushed and shipped the 100K, but now the Donkeys, they're going to get right back in on the
I have a question, Tambo. Is Hebrew always here for this first look show, or is he just here just fucking flexing out on the beach right now, all oiled up with his muscles out?
No, he's always in the mix, man. He's always in the mix. He's a great dude. A lot, just if you don't know anything about Rio, you should get to know him. Funny enough, he does our NBA content flat out, just absolutely dominant, grinding it out all season long, but he just crushes every sport. MMA, top of the leaderboards before he came on to SHIPIT Nation. Right. I was just with him. Go ahead.
I met Hebrew in Phoenix. We were instant brotherhood. So you don't need to lecture me on how cool Hebrew is.
The world needs to know though. You met his brother too, so he was there, Dakota. Like he's got a good family. He's an awesome dude. And I was just with him at the baseball live final. He crushed. All these other sports that he's just dominating. So just awesome to see this type of run and that you put the work in, good things can happen. That's really what the nation is all about. And just all the people coming out from the community to congratulate him and the other members last night. That's really what it's truly all about. If you're playing good, you're working on your game, what we're all about at the nation, you will find your way around. You talk about it all the time. Sustainability, bankroll management, contest selection, pick your spots, and it can go your way as well. Let's move on. Let's go the next way and go to Chargers at Steelers. DGen, thoughts on this game?
Vomit in my mouth. These are just games that when we have these big slates like this before we hit all the buys, these are just games I just kind of X out. Like I just see these totals and these offenses and I'm out. Now, with that said, I think you can get in here and probably get a running back. Like this is going to just be a grind the shit out of the ball, but both of these teams split the running back action pretty equally. And I also hate trying to be a shaman and try to predict which of the two running backs is going to have the big game. And I think you have to do that on both sides of the ball here. But overall, I'm only probably considering running backs here. And I hate these two teams running backs because they split it so evenly. Maybe a possession receiver, but even then, I just don't trust these quarterbacks or these offenses to get enough targets to my wide receivers to justify these price tags.
You didn't know J.K. Dobbins is the best running back in the NFL?
Yeah, he keeps hitting those big runs and it's like making him look like he's the best, but yeah, I'll pass on the J.K. Dobbins is the best. 6,400 is going to leave some people. They're going to pay that 1 week and he's going to be 20%. A lot of people are going to be disappointed.
Yeah, that's the thing. So we'll have to wait and see, but Quentin Johnson, another 2 touchdowns. I don't know. Well, this is a tough spot. The total suck. The game sucks. I do like your call out of sometimes just being able to X out a game. Talked about that plenty, even talked about it in the tutorial on this page. You can just download the XLSX file and just delete a game right off there. Get it out of your mind, Bob. Take that thing right off the paper. That's the way to do it. So, trying to chase this stuff and get it right is what's so tricky. And just to get a secondary or just because you land on it doesn't mean you have to. So you can move off this game, go to the next one. And this one is...
I see Go Collect in the chat over here saying, what about Steelers defense at home? I think a lot of times people see these low totals, a good defense at home playing the Chargers, but the Chargers run the ball so much. I just don't think there's going to be a ton of opportunities for the Steelers to get sacks and pick sixes and stuff like that. And so the $3,300 isn't necessarily a defense I'm looking to pay up for. Unless they jump up early on the Chargers and get the Chargers in a bad script, I think the Chargers are just going to grind this game away. And the Steelers, outside of recovering a fumble, are going to have a very hard time getting to double digits as a defense, which is probably what you're going to need to ship a GPP.
Yeah, and also just to add on, like you said, all the amount they want to run it too between Fields, Najee, Warren, the other side with Dobbins, Gus, it's just going to kill clock.
Game's going to be over by 2:30. It's going to be over early.
Fastest game on the slate. So we'll see how it ends up going. This next one, Bo Nix was coined throw picks, and then he certainly did throw picks last week. Now he goes into Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers. We've got Baker, who, people have been pretty high on, myself included, looked pretty good the last 2 weeks. He's made certain stuff work, but I think the biggest standout, and I don't think this ownership is going anywhere, is on Chris Godwin. He's essentially playing Cooper Kupp, who, is now injured, of course, for the Rams, but for the Bucs, he's got that exact role. I think he was 7 for 8 and 8 for 8 the week before. Like, it's just all balls that he can't drop essentially. And, and then he does everything else on top of that.
Yeah, so in the past, this would have just been another game I would mark out. But I think that the Bucs might actually have a legitimate fantasy offense this year, which is so weird to say because Baker, I love Baker Mayfield. Nobody loves Baker Mayfield more than me. But for several years, I've just never considered him a fantasy quarterback. And any team he's been leading, I've basically just marked off of my slate. But he's playing really good, and Evans and Godwin are playing really well. The running backs between White and Bucky Irving, I think they're a legitimate offense. This is one of those ones that I'm probably going to get a piece of the Bucs because I do think they score 24, 28 points, and somebody's going to get theirs. And I don't think I'm going to worry too much about running it back with the Broncos. I think they're just pretty inept on offense. There's nobody who's getting enough volume to justify those price tags, and I think there's a real blowout risk here.
Yeah, who did they played Detroit last week, right? It was Tampa Bay, and that was another one. I think it was the other Millie Maker was just a Baker Godwin stack, no run back. Again, because look, like you said, trying to figure out this Broncos side, who gives a shit? Just play Baker, play Godwin, Evans, whoever you choose on this side. And I think, look, Godwin got a little bit of a price bump, Baker a little bit of a price bump, but it's $400 or $500. You can find this in a heartbeat. Your $3,300 defense goes down to $2,800. There's just so many things that you can do to make it work. So focus on that when you're building out your lineups. Part of your process should be that. Compare some 2v2s. See what happens. If you have Evans in there and you don't love the lineup, someone said maybe Surtain locks him down. The point would be if you have Evans in there and you like it, roll it. If you don't like it, try Godwin. Oh, but he's too chalky. Well, then you get different when you're with your next point, like with your 2v2 there. Find something else. There's just so many ways to get different, but be comfortable with your lineup. It's your money. You're putting it in. You got to have something that you believe in and that you trust, and don't just play it to play it. Play, your process, put it in. So
for all of you that are new to DFS, maybe you've just been playing a year or two, just try not playing shitty teams, players from shitty teams in your lineups for a week or two. And you'll be really amazed how much more enjoyable NFL DFS is on Sunday whenever you're not sweating, frickin' Marvin Mims getting you 1 catch for 4 yards, right? Just stay away from those guys.
You said it much more eloquently than I was trying to say, but you nailed my point of, if Marvin Mims had just have done this, or if I could have just got the Jalen McMillan catch. We all have lineups like that. I get it. But like you said, try for a week. Just put really good guys in there and ignore some of the other stuff. Not ignore ownership altogether. Mm-hmm. The tools we have can show you how to do it, but I'm just saying, try not to put that crazy punt in just to get greedy on that one extra guy and land on something you feel better with, and just be so much more happy when you see them actually getting targets, getting end zone or red zone shots or whatever it might be. That's kind of the angle of approach. So I love that call.
Get guys who are in functional offenses. Your life will be a lot more, for a quarterback when it's 3rd and 3, you're not already planning on them punting because, they actually pick that up and then they continue the drive and get your guys more targets and more yards and more opportunities.
Yeah, and that's our guy Sean. Love him. He's always in the chat supporting, appreciate it in the Discord over at SHIPIT Nation. Remember, but it's that's the whole point. Has he been checking it down a bunch? Yes. And I know you're not probably saying this. It's for others out there seeing it, but trying to figure out who his check down guy is going to be and have that in your lineup for that reason, or trying to pinpoint it, just not worth it. That's exactly what we're talking about right there. And I love that last call that you had, because that's a strategy tidbit I've thrown out for years. When you're landing on your last guy that's 3,300 or 3,500, don't just play the guy that you see popping. Sometimes try and think about the quarterback that's attached. Can the quarterback even get this guy the ball? Is there even a chance he's going to catch these things? Look into some more facets of what you're doing before just throwing them in because they pop on a value chart. That's the whole point. Do your own research, find your stuff, make it fit your process. Packers at Titans. These totals are just as bad as the one that we looked at there earlier, but any thoughts on these games here between the Green Bay Packers and the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, I got a thought. Is there any fucking games on the slate that I'm going to play? I'm marking out so many of these games right off the bat. Malik Willis at quarterback, that basically takes all 4 of those Green Bay wide receivers who are actually pretty good off the charts. I would still consider Josh Jacobs because the guy's a manimal. I'd still consider maybe one of the Titans running backs, but the Titans haven't looked good. They like to play slow. They're not going to have any reason to be aggressive playing Malik fucking Willis. This is just a game it's not a great DFS scoring environment. I might come in and grab a piece, but I'm certainly not trying to get any correlation in this game or playing this as a sneaky secondary stack. No, thank you for this one.
I would say this, Jacobs, maybe 6,700. And then the chat brought up, made me think of it, but the Packers D, same price as the Steelers you looked at earlier. I'd feel much better about having them up against Will Levis, trying to chuck it around to these guys with Ridley, Hopkins, all them, versus the setup that we had earlier that you broke down quite nicely.
Why not Titans D, $600 cheaper at home, getting to play against Slapdick Willis?
Yeah, exactly. That's possible as well. I was going to just say that it's not updated yet, like we had earlier with Chubb and all. We just put the originals in and then go adjust it. We wanted to have it for the show, but just it takes it from the original teams and then we fill it out ourselves from there. Sweaty tryhards living that lifestyle. But go collect Malik Willis revenge game. Cross off. Maybe it is the Tennessee D, like you said, in that spot. That makes perfect sense. What else did I see here? A couple others. Punts with ceilings. If you can find it, it is better sometimes waiting on that guy that can at least catch a bomb down the stretch. We did it last night with Darnell Mooney in the chat there. We were waiting until end of third quarter for it to happen, and then he almost got two. So, yeah, I like that call. Ross, yeah, way more fun letting the field take themselves out with Panthers receivers. Definitely like that. Nades had a good one here. We talk about this in golf all the time. Like people spend so much, I got the 0.5% owned guy that, first of all, nobody else is playing. So even if you get it right, it might not matter. He says you still got to step on 4 turds to find the diamond in the rough. That doesn't help your case. Agree with that. And then Beetlebane, awesome supporter, member as well. Love to see questions like this. Sample size way too light. I will say last year it was popping up a little bit, but just saying going off of 2 weeks right now to say this happened, therefore this, we can't do it yet. So keep watching those review shows, the takedown breakdown, tuning in. We'll have you covered up. And then Ricky, he's on the mend for the 49ers, but he says always D against Slapdick Willis. So shout out to Ricky. Good to see him in here as well. I got nothing else for this game. I thought you broke it down well. We are moving to the afternoon games, but before I do, I'm going to let people know we've hit the halfway point. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and DJen, you just said it. It's not the worst slate. It's not the best slate. Any slate of football is good, but celebrating the nation, celebrating the community is a big thing of ours. And I'm going to pop it up now. I was going to save it till the end, but I'm going to pop it up now. We are going to give away something we've never done during NFL before and normally wouldn't, but celebrating Big Marley, Rio, the rest of the community, these showdown shippers. If you use code SDSHIP at SHIPITNation.com, signing up for any monthly football or all access package, you get the first week free. So if you want week 3 for free, get week 3 for free. That's how you do it right there. Code is SDSHIP. You can pop it in there. I'll pop it back up after. We're going to keep going through these games, but if you want to get in on the action, go to SHIPITNation.com. Use code SDSHIP on the monthly football or monthly all access plan. Speaking of those Panthers, DJen, we got them. Bryce Young benched. Again, this will be updated for $4,800. Andy Dalton that we talked about earlier. Gardner Minshew, the opposite side at $5,300, just took down the Ravens. So thoughts on this one here? Panthers, Raiders, pretty modest total though.
Okay, first of all, I think this opinion is being highly influenced by the last 5 games we've just looked at, but this kind of feels like a sneaky game. All right, I guess I don't want to shit on every game. Not that I think that Andy Dalton's going to come in and light the world on fire, but I do think that he can get the Panthers to 17, maybe 21 points, pick up some occasional third downs, move the ball. But more than anything, the Raiders actually kind of like a functional football team this year. They're at home. They're in the dome. They have a lot to play for. It just feels like somebody's going to go off for the Raiders. My money would probably be on Devontae Adams or Brock Bowers. One of those two will certainly be finding their way in my lineups. And honestly, I might even consider a little correlation with a little run back from Deontay Johnson. I'm not a Deontay Johnson guy, but I am a guy that knows that Andy Dalton is probably going to get the guy to the possession receiver. And in my opinion, that's going to be Deontay Johnson. So I could see a little correlation from this game that I'm going to get at low ownership. And I don't hate it as much as I thought that I would.
I actually like that call because, most people think sneaky game has to have the big total, but typically those are going to be the target games. Those are going to be the games with all the plays within it. This game is interesting, but when we look at it, there has to be some upside on a guy like Minshew when he's attached to Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers. They're going to get some color coding, I can imagine, at the end of the week as well. Just guessing. I know at the start of the season, you were heavy in the best ball streets. Many that watch were. I'm not in them, but I know a lot of people were talking about Deontay Johnson doing a bit more here in Carolina. I've heard talks this week of other guys that he might get involved with Andy Dalton at the helm, but I could definitely see it here if you wanted to run like a Gardner, Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers, bring it back with Deontay Johnson. Is it that bad? I know we just made fun of it, and I think it was Ross who said it earlier, or somebody mentioned it about, Ross, let the field take advantage with the Panthers receivers. Probably, but if you wanted to run it back, I certainly think you could do it with a guy like Deontay Johnson if you wanted to at 4,900 there. We'll see who gets more popular in this price range.
This could be a Zamir White get-right game, right? Like, I faded the shit out of Zamir White. I hated him all year at best ball. Literally didn't take him in one pick. But, like, if he's ever going to have a game script where they're ahead, where he could kind of be that, could get 100 yards and a touchdown type game, this might be it, because he hasn't really done shit so far. And I know, the Raiders still believe in him, and I bet he's going to get the first crack at having a big game.
A bunch of takes here, and I love it. Raiders D, definitely one. We'll see if Andy Dalton even picks up the steam. Bowers has been a certified stud. We've seen that. That's pretty cool. Coming out just 2 games in. The other thing is, though, is this, and everyone says it. I don't know if I believe Nick, because Gangrene bought it up. This is another thing since yesterday, all I've heard. So we'll wait and see who's lower owned. I think if Thielen ends up getting the ownership, then give me Deontay for $100 less. If it does turn out that enough people go to Deontay, then yes, Thielen would be the good pick. It's kind of like an automatic pivot. If you want to go there, they're $100 apart. You'll be able to have the ownership update by the end of the week, check it out on the stone, and then find it out. But Go Collect brought it up. This is the key why it would be considered sneaky. People think sneaky needs to be dome game with a big total with da-da-da-da-da. This is all cheap guys that everyone thinks are pretty bad in the most cases. And I like the Zamir White call too. I played him week 1, didn't even think about it last week and got away with it. And now this week could be the week. So if this does pick up some steam on some of these guys, going to a guy like Zamir White would be another way to get different within it. Let's move on. Let's go to Dolphins, Seahawks. Obviously, we know the situation with Tua, so still waiting on. I don't know what the official news is right now, but gotta suspect he's got. I think it was like neurologist.
He ain't playing this week. That we know that.
No. I was just seeing what they said about him on the retirement decision, but either way, yeah, obviously not playing this week. So Dolphins at the Seahawks. I'll kick it over to you for this one. DK Metcalf coming off a huge week.
Yeah, I wonder if, I don't know what Kenneth Walker's status is, but man, if he's back, this seems like a smash spot for him. This just seems like one of those weeks he's definitely going for 100 yards and a touchdown type game. 3 catches out of the backfield, get you 30 points or something like that. So if he's back and he's going to have a full load, Kenneth Walker will probably be one of my favorite running backs this week at 6,300. Over for the Dolphins, yes, they have Tyreek Hill, they have Jalen Waddle, they have Chan, they have all these incredible people. But when you have an inept quarterback, and let me tell you, Skylar Thompson is inept, right? This ain't fucking K-State Big 12 football. It basically renders everybody else on the team unplayable, especially at those price tags. So I'm probably just looking at, like I said on the last game, probably going to definitely have a Seahawk or 2 in every lineup. And I'm not too worried about running it back, because I just don't think the Dolphins at those price tags can pay off what you need from them.
Yeah, I like that call. Nades brought this up too. The last game, you could get the Zamir White, Jatavian Sanders for free secondary stack and just play that if you wanted and roll that out there, because 2,500 and 5,500. Remind me of that one, Nades, later in the week. We'll see how it goes. JSN did get the price bump for sure. HN is a favorite. I know he was getting some heavy coach speak yesterday. Mike McDaniel's talking about him doing everything possible to get himself ready to be in the position that he's been in, and it's hard not to give him the ball with how much work he's put in. So people are saying to that, but I kind of like your call. If we get Walker back, 6,300 on the opposite side, I wouldn't hate that. At home favorites total. I get they have other stuff going on, but you could run again another. If I was paying up, I would spend $200 more than the defense we talked about earlier with Pittsburgh and Chicago or whoever it was. Who was it that we talked about earlier? It was Chicago.
Steelers. Was the Steelers at 3,300?
I think it was.
Someone said the Steelers at 3,300. I thought.
Yeah. That was exactly it. I'd rather pay $200 more and just go down to this spot here and play the Seahawks and Geno Smith. Skyler is a guy where they don't. But they have HN, they have this, that, and the other. I get it, but it's another guy. There's nothing really to mask or hide. They're just going to let him do what's normal and see what happens. They're going to hope that their playmakers come through. They're not going to not throw the ball to Tyreek Hill just because they have him. They're going to try and make it happen. It's situations where the team isn't as comfortable with it, or when it's a third string that they bring in where it's like, well, we're just going to have to mask him, cover it up, eat this loss, and move on. They're not expecting to lose this game. They're expecting to go in there and win this game and get the job done and still go to their guys. That's where the Seahawks.
Do we know what Mostert's status is? Because if Mostert's out, Achan is still a guy I would probably play at 7,000.
We're still considering him, but I don't know. Again, too, Mostert.
I'm not going to play him. I want to know what his status is. Is he going to play? Is he going to be out again?
No, for sure. And I said I don't know what he's at yet. I'm saying I'm not considering HM because of that. I'm just saying people just auto assume and go to this stuff when you can still get stuff against it. So if Mostert's out, I think HM becomes super popular at just $7K. And then that's my point. I could easily go to Kenneth. We just saw it last week. Kyron Williams, super chalk on the road in Arizona. You could get Connor at almost half his ownership and take the Arizona D against that squad with people going to a bunch of different plays over there and get different that way. So there's a lot of different ways you can attack it and handle it. Let's move on. Let's go to this next one here. Lions, Cardinals. This got to be the game of the week that people are going to. Like 27.5, 25, close spread in Arizona. We just saw that shook out. There's going to be plays for days. Murray, Connor, Marv Harrison, people like Dortch, McBride. Laporta did not do much last week. Really kind of scary like shares and stuff, but still Williams, Amon-Ra, Gibbs, Goff, Monty. What's your thoughts on this one?
First of all, I don't want to spoil it for all of our great members over at SHIPIT, but I'll just go ahead and tell everybody, all you pores on YouTube, this is what we would call a chalky game. That will be the color of this one, okay? Because everybody's going to be on this game. My first thoughts are, I watch the Cardinals every week because I usually have a lot of them in my lineups, and they're playing so well, at the Bills and then at home last week. And I keep thinking, is Kyler Murray back? I keep thinking, nah, this is fake. He's not really back. But after 2 weeks, I'm starting to kind of believe that he's back. And if he's back and they're at home and they're playing the Lions, who the Lions love to get in a shootout more than any team in the NFL, this game just reeks to high hell of you need to get a piece of it. And the thing is I'm pretty comfortable getting playing the quarterbacks, the running backs, or the wide receivers / tight ends from both teams. So this is one I'm going to have to look at the ownership, and I think it's going to be crazy high ownership, but maybe I come in here and try to play some of the lesser owned pieces, which I assume Amon-Ra is probably going to be a little bit lower owned in this game than some of the other pieces. So maybe that's the way that I get in here. Laporta, after 2 pretty pedestrian weeks, might be a little lower owned. So maybe those are the guys that come in and play in this game. So I can have I can have a piece of it, but not have the same piece as 40% of the field.
Yeah, we'll have to look and see too. Amon-Ra, they downplayed the severity of the injury. I think it was a leg injury, but it seems minor. So we'll keep an eye on him throughout the week. But the other interesting thing, so a Kyler Murray price so nice, you might think about it twice, $6,900, but it's priced up now. That's more than what you would expect. Marv Harrison now up to $7,400 if people are going back to that. So I think the best part you said about this game is that $6,200, $6,000, that's expensive for those tight ends. I'm sure there's going to be cheap options that people can go to on this slate. You can maneuver your way around this game. Maybe it's the opposite of last week. Everybody liked the Rams side. Maybe you end up going to Goff if Amon-Ra plays and nobody wants him and an expensive stack, and then use a Greg Dortch or something on the other side who I liked last week, and it just didn't end up being him because how could it be when Marvin Harrison Jr. has touchdowns that quick, that early? So tons of options within this game. It's going to be a chalky game, but I think it can also be a target game, not on the stone, but just because, like you said, a piece to get after, whether it's secondary stacks, whatever, you're not wanting to leave this out. And there's tons of different options that you could play. If you don't love this game, you could play Monty to ground in 2 touchdowns and Dortch to be the guy on the other side. And you still have a piece of this game. You're not on any of the chalk because there's no way they would be the guys, and go from there. So lots of different ways you can use these games. 2 more, I think. Yeah, 2 more games to cover here, DJ. So let's go through them. Ravens at the Cowboys, another one. And I don't know how you could see this one. I mean, 49-point total, 1-point spread, 2 bad losses coming in here. I mean, 2 bad losses just for the Ravens alone to start the season. Could have got the job done against Kansas City, botched the job last week there. And then the Cowboys gave one away there too. So what's your thoughts on this game, Ravens-Cowboys?
First of all, did you notice that there's 5 games in the afternoon, which is going to, for all of us late swap heroes that, are looking at our lineups and seeing what we need to do based on how the early part of this, the slate went, it's going to give us a lot of options. And this could be one of those things where, if you have a lineup that's full of Lions and Cardinals and it gets off to a really slow start, maybe you switch them over to some Ravens and the Cowboys, because I think this game is going to be lower owned than that Lions-Cardinals game, and I think it still has all the same upside as that game. If this game gets to be 34-31, something crazy like that, and these offenses are moving up and down the field, this could be the game of the week. Both of these teams have not looked like world beaters, but remember, we're not playing NFL football. We're playing fantasy football, and we just want 2 teams that are going to score. And we have seen that the Ravens and the Cowboys defenses do not mind giving up points this year. So I actually am a little bit more interested in this game than I am the one that we just talked about, simply just because I think it has all the upside without the ownership.
Yeah, it's crazy too, though. Like all the morning games you were talking about puking in your mouth and everything. It is pretty bad, right? And then you get to the afternoon, and from a football fan, but we're here to talk about fantasy, both sides of the front, you get Lions Cards in Arizona, Ravens Cowboys should be an awesome game. We're about to get to 49ers Rams. I mean, there is a lot. I mean, Rams might just be an afterthought now. We'll get there in a second. But just back to this game, the Ravens O-line has been horrible. It's 2 weeks in. I don't know if they can make any adjustments or whatnot. But back to I don't know how you want to attack it here, because Lamb still 8,800, Prescott 66. We'll see. Ferguson was out last week, so Schoonmaker got a small price bump. Andrews went backwards. Their stuff. I mean, Andrews got a little bit more involved. I don't really know how I'm attacking it, but I love your call of the late swap factor, because this cannot be the most popular afternoon game when we have the previous game that we just talked about. And even the next game, I think people will still like some spots there. So there's going to be an opportunity here. It's just all how you put it together by the end of the week. But probably Lamar Jackson interests me at 7,500. You can play him by himself. You can play him with just one of Zay or something like that. So any other, attack spots for this that you can think of? If not, we can go to the next game.
The funny thing is the first game that we stopped shitting on was the first afternoon game, right? Like we're shitting on all the games, and literally every afternoon game so far we have talked up. My biggest thought on this one is I want to get action in it, and I need to think, how can I get action in this game in a way that not everybody else is, right? Like if this is a week that Derrick Henry's 4%, maybe we go play some Derrick Henry, even though I'm not a Derrick Henry guy. Nobody wants to play Lamar stacks. Give me, Lamar to Mark Andrews skinny stack just seems like it's due for a takeoff or something like that. And with Mark Andrews down to 4,800, it's pretty nice pricing, Bob.
Yeah, I do like that. I actually like that. Just Lamar Andrews, call it a day, or pick your guy. But again, on this side, it can get tricky, because while you would like it to be Lamb, when you've got a $7,500 quarterback, obviously makes it a little bit more tricky. And then also, we're going to get to Jordan Mason in a second with that next game. It's not like he's 5,200 anymore. So it's not just like the automatic values that you have to plug in. Some previous stuff just on that last game, I'll bring it up, mainly just because our guy Shaloub, look at that handsome devil, man, coming on here with his full-on LinkedIn picture, whatever that is. But he said Laporta did not get any love last week. He should be a must play. Yeah, the usage is really bad and crazy, but that's, who cares? It's 2 weeks in. So I'm with you. Definitely a guy you could get to at 6,000 there. I also think what's interesting about that is, going back to this one, not to spend too much time on it, but it will be a popular afternoon game, is I think people would go to Kyler and McBride over the savings now that Marvin Harrison got popped up to 7,400. And so I kind of love, like, if you're doing this like a Kyler, Dortch, Laporta, and do something like that. That just has to be different. I'm higher on Dortch than most, probably. You could do Michael Wilson if you choose. It just, I'm following everything I brought up earlier. I think the quarterback can get them the ball. I think the indoor setting, the targets, the environment, I think everything sets up well for it. I need a break here. It's attached to him, and it attaches to the game while getting different. So it's not just, throwing something against the wall. That's just how I think of it. So,
hey, I actually have a little note I wrote down here about Michael Wilson. He fucking sucks. There you go. There's a note for you on Michael Wilson.
I've been waiting for that one too, so I'm glad you busted that out today. Again, missed you. Appreciate you bringing that one out of the bag, because that's one of the best ones. I was looking at my notes here, and you fumble them a little bit. No, and I remember. I found it. Yeah, he fucking sucks. I'll drop an F-bomb for my guy, Degenerate 75, just being back in the mix with him. Love what we do. Happy to be here. If you guys are happy to be here and enjoying yourselves, hit the like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to get into this last game we're covering. The Chiefs-Falcons will be covered with Showdown over at the site. It's covered because FanDuel has still kept it in the mix, but we'll save that one for the after effect. Let's keep it going here.
Isn't that weird? Don't you find that weird? I don't like that at all.
Don't like it at all. No, I'm not a big fan. So I like being dead or alive, and then going into the night with a whole new outlook on life, not having to sweat or anti-sweat anything else on the FanDuel side of things, because I do play volume over on FanDuel, and I like the pricing, and I like all of that. I do not like that they include this game. So just my take. Last game, 49ers, Rams. Rams lost a bunch of these guys, right? So we got to wait and see here how it's all going to shake out. Maybe you've got some early thoughts on it. Their total, probably the lowest we've seen them have for quite some time, with an offense that's beat up quite bad, like we talked about. 49ers side, we got an increase here to Mason. Obviously, McCaffrey hit the IR, so Mason's 6,200. Some of the other stuff you're seeing here. What stands out with this one, if anything?
Well, my first thought is like, just because Kupp and Nakua are out, I wasn't ready to bury the Rams offense. I thought, they still got Stafford when they're at home. I'm still going to consider them, but damn, the 49ers are not the first team you want to see defensively without your two stud receivers, right? So I'm not freaked out about the Rams. I would still play them. Like, say they were playing the Cardinals here. This was the Cardinals at the Rams. I would be very interested in a Rams stack, simply just because of all the value that's going to be there. But against the 49ers, I don't know. I might be a little too scared to do that one. So that's my biggest take. I don't think I can play Kieran Williams here at 7,100 against a vaunted 49ers D, even if they are at home.
Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud what you're saying here while I'm working through it. The only thing I can think about, though, is that I still might have to go to Brock Purdy on this one, only because the target tree got tighter, right? Obviously, Debo's out for a couple of weeks, unfortunately, there. Christian McCaffrey put on IR. So while Mason will be popular, first of all, automatic way to get different would be to move off him. But second of all, another way to get different with him would be to play him with his quarterback, because I now think he has to get even more looks, right? Kittle's here, Ayuk's here, Mason's here. Yes, you can mix in these outsiders if you want to, but I still think this spot is fine to attack. I thought Detroit should have done more against the Rams when they played them and had the opportunity to. And you still have Ayuk, Kittle, Purdy. I mean, Mason's looked great. These guys can still move the ball. Still a pretty big total in LA. Like, I actually think this could be somewhat interesting. And if you want to go back to a Demarcus Robinson, big price bump, but something here, back to the well, go play Colby Parkinson now that absolutely nobody's going to play him. Play Purdy, Mason, Ayuk, and Parkinson now that he's trash, right? He sucks. He didn't come through at 3,100 when he was 20% owned. So let me never play him again. That's pretty much how people look at DFS. So I actually think there is some interest, but again, hopefully this low total for the Rams and the injuries across both teams keep people off of this a little bit. I think it's another spot you could go to. All right, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Jordan Mason, now that he's up to 6,200, he's getting priced like all the other starting running backs, and he doesn't offer a whole lot in the receiving game. So you need to remember that like, yeah, he was a free square last week, but he's kind of getting priced up to where like he needs to have some, like he's basically getting to where he's going to need a touchdown or 3 or 4 catches out of the backfield. And I don't think he's ever going to be that guy that gets 3 or 4 catches out of the backfield.
Yeah, this is also a point. This was they did it last year too, I believe, and I knew about it because I always marked my calendar out early. So it's Jacksonville, Buffalo, Washington, and Cincy is this Monday night. And the weird thing about it is they're starting them like an hour apart. So it's not like they usually do and spacing out the games or whatever. They're just starting the first game, an hour and 15, whatever it is later, they start the second game. And then next week is Tennessee at Miami and Seattle at Detroit. I don't really see a crazy reason for it. Just to, space it out, maybe the start of the season, maybe some of their schedule wizards that come in. If someone knows a better reason, let me know in the chat. But I certainly think that's a possibility. Mason and Kittle, that's a way to use up 2 spots. I like our guy Hebrew's take there too. Again, not worrying about Purdy in that because maybe Mason doesn't catch any balls and just let him run a couple touchdowns in and you got to fill that onesie position with the tight end. Shalhoub back at it again, says Ayuk finally going to step up. I could certainly see that. And he's passing on Mason now. So definitely think that. Our guy Go Collect says the same with Debo out. I think he's more involved 2 weeks back with the team. We know what Kittle is. I do think, though, one last thought on the top of my mind is, and Hebrew, you know this stuff, so you put him up there, but I feel like when Debo was out in the past, they used Kittle to block a bunch more. Now, mind you, they had CMC typically in those cases and so on and so forth. So I'm actually not sure how it will get played out, but I'll look into it a little bit more on the week, and we'll get all that stuff up on the site. Anything else for you, DGen? Final thoughts before we get out of here?
I don't have any. Rumor is that the NFL is only doing those 2 games on Monday night so close together to kill us late swap bros. That's the rumor going around the streets.
It is possible. It is possible. If you guys didn't hear at the top, we do have the Rake Free Lister League. They did made it even bigger. They put it up from 1,500 to 2,000. The rumor on the streets coming when it comes to this is that we have to fill it by tomorrow to get a chance to get it to 2,500, which is probably the max. But right now we're at about just under 900. So 1,100 entries. Not many got in from the start of the show. If you're not in, it's the best tournament in DFS. There is no rake, balanced structure, $5 5 max. Can't really spend $25 a better way, even if you are someone who plays less entries.
And to translate for all you Americans, that needs to be filled by tomorrow.
That is correct. Thank you. That makes it a lot easier. I said it like it was further down the road. I was trying to buy that. That gave no urgency. That was my bad on the marketing front.
I'm just making fun of you being Canadian. That's how we roll here in America. We have to shit on other countries to feel better about ourselves.
I'm okay with it. I'm part American at this point anyway. But I will bring some urgency to this marketing and let you guys know this. If you want a free week over at SHIPIT Nation, you go to the site, shipitnation.com, go to Join the Nation, sign up for a monthly football or all access package. It's with or without our optimizer, Shiptimizer, and you will get 1 week for free. So check that out. Super pumped to be back with you today, my brother. It was a fun show going through all this with you and more. Hope to be back here next Tuesday, same time, same place. The two of us, that's the expectation. But thank you guys all for watching. Smash the like on the way out. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. That's going to do it for this one, guys. For DGen and for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!